All right, so here we are again, and AfroBasket pre-qualifies Cameroon. It's over, officially over. Liz, it was incredible. Please, your thoughts.
Oh, it was an exciting tournament, and it was great to see all three teams competing. Congratulations to Cape Verde for qualifying through to the next round. I think on the first day when I saw them play Chad, I knew that they were going to lock it in. They have great experience, a lot of mature players. I know they were shorthanded, but they just had a lot of different players contributing across the board. You had Fidel and Shane dropping points. You had other guys getting 11 rebounds or 5 assists. They definitely had the most balanced team. I was a bit disappointed for South Sudan just because a lot of the Australian players in that team, but it was a great learning experience for them, and I'm sure they'll come back stronger. Chad played how I expected them to play, and I'm not surprised they didn't pick up a win, to be honest.
Okay, all right. So I picked up a lot of things. I don't even know where to begin. Number one, I smelled a little bias there with the South Sudan thing, right? A little Australian you came out, right? That's okay.
I can admit that.
We all have our little biases here and there. But I agree with you 100%. What I saw was just incredible. Cape Verde they were incredible. You pronounce his name Fidel. Is it Fidel or Fidel? Actually,
it could be Fidel. You're probably right.
Mendonca, right? Mendonca, right? That's his last name, right? Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, Fidel, if I messed up your name, I really apologize, but I'll get your name straight as we go on. Right, so I love the way they played. Cape Verde, I love the way they played. I love their game plan, you know, coming out there, working the pick and rolls and everything. It was just incredible. They did have trouble playing against South Sudan, your team. Yes, that's your team, Liz. They did have problems playing against them. The length was just incredible, and those guys are so athletic. I think, you know, it's just a matter of time, and they will be a powerhouse in Africa. And Chad, as far as Chad, I don't know, man. Okay, they say if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything. So I'll take it back to you.
Look, Richard Nato Kolmia played really well. He led the way for Chad. He had played for the team in World Cup qualifiers, so he had that experience. I think he ended up with, I want to say, 19. He was averaging.
He was
number 15.
Number 15.
He was number 15 for Chad. Chad are just a little too run and gun. And they tried to run some horns, and when that didn't work, their offense fell apart. And against the other two teams who have a little bit more discipline and who can execute, they just couldn't keep up. And like you said about Cape Verde, they killed both Chad and South Sudan on the pick and rolls.
Well, you know, I got to give props to South Sudan. I think they played a hell of a game. They pretty much won the first quarter, played really hard, really strong. They had a lot of heart, and you could tell that they were gunning. They were almost sure of themselves that they were going to have that game. But I think the maturity of Cape Verde, especially coming from Shane, the point guard himself, got to give him props, you know, because he did a really great job. I got to give him props, you know. Yeah, we got to give him his props. I love what he was doing out there. It was just, he didn't score as many points as he did against Chad, but he was able to control the game. He was controlling the game so well, and I was surprised South Sudan didn't do something to try to get the ball away from Shane, but they allowed him to do that, and it ended up hurting them.
I 100% agree. I think the point guards for Cape Verde, Shane and Fidel, did a great job of executing their offense and keeping the game at their pace, and that was something different that South Sudan could not handle. I think there was a lot of questionable decisions regarding lineups for South Sudan and tactics. I'm not sure why they were running ice on a side pick and roll against a team that was killing them off dribble penetration, for example. Where was their zone offense? Because as soon as Cape Verde sat in that 1-3-1 zone, South Sudan didn't know what to do. And so props to the Cape Verde coach who put that in. Great tactic, and it worked really well. It really disrupted South Sudan, who weren't able to come back at them with something else. So I think better coaching and more mature, experienced players was the deciding factor in that game. You've got to remember, South Sudan have a lot of young players who have never played on the continent before, and this will be a great learning experience for them.
Hey, how many players were missing? I'm sure you know that team a whole lot better than I do. How many players were missing for South Sudan?
For South Sudan, well, look, they've got NBA players and they've got college players. So none of these guys were available, and they could have had an entirely different roster. 12 different players could have shown up for this event if they had been given the opportunity to. But in saying that, Cape Verde were missing their entire starting five. And Chad were missing 3 of their starting 5 from World Cup qualifiers. So everybody was shorthanded, but South Sudan was probably the most disadvantaged.
Okay, so I had a conversation yesterday with my people, my community, and I was talking about, I just came from watching the NBA Finals and then, the transition to AfroBasket, and I felt like, I'm still watching the same thing. It didn't feel like, the talent went downwards. And you mean to tell me that we were watching the second teams play? These are bench players?
A lot of not all of them, like there would have been players in all 3 of these teams who probably would have made the ultimate 12 of their team. But realistically, we're not seeing fully strength Chad, South Sudan or Cape Verde teams in this tournament.
Wow. Now that's even more impressive for me. That's even more impressive because I was watching South Sudan and I felt like, all right, it was unfortunate for them. They went against Cape Verde, which, yes, was the better team. But I actually do feel like in the near future, there will be a problem in the continent. There will be a problem in the world. If they keep this going, Luol Deng, I think, is doing a great job, and I think there will be a problem. They're a really good team. They have the pieces. They do need guards, though. They do need guards.
They're a lot like Senegal, who also struggle in that guard position. They've got height, they've got length, they've got athleticism, but yet to develop really top quality African guards. And I 100% agree with you. This team now has 4 years to prepare for the next qualifiers. For those who don't know, AfroBasket is now every 4 years instead of 2 and is part of a new 4-year qualification process by FIBA. So if you don't qualify for AfroBasket, you can't participate in World Cup qualifiers, the World Cup, the Olympics, so you have to sit out for 4 years. But I think in those 4 years, we'll see teams like South Sudan, Chad, anybody else who didn't come through pre-qualifiers like Tanzania, for example. You have 4 years to rebuild your team and get ready for pre-qualifiers in 2024.
Okay, so I want to keep this moving, all right? Players that stood out, please.
Okay. Well, we'll start with Cape Verde. They obviously had a lot of talented players. They had different guys contributing all across the stat sheet. But I think for me, it was their 22-year-old guard who came off the bench, Anderson Corella. I probably pronounced that wrong. It's Correa. He had 19.5 points, 9 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. That's great numbers for a guy coming off the bench for them. He's number 8 for them. He really stood out for me and people should check him out. I also think Kwani from South Sudan was the leading light for that team. He also had a great pre-qualification tournament in Kenya. In the games in Cameroon, he averaged 17 points, 9 rebounds and 4 assists. So a very well-rounded game for him against Chad and Cape Verde. And I would say for Chad, although they didn't get a win, they were led by Ronald Nato Kolmia, who had 20 points, 4.5 rebounds and 3.5 assists. He was really carrying this team on his back. He has a lot of experience coming from the World Cup qualifiers with Chad. And so I think he took it upon himself to lead his team in this tournament. So I think for me, those are the 3 players that really stood out.
Wow, you mean to tell me Shane is not in there?
Oh, look, you give Shane enough props, so I don't need to talk about him. You've got that covered.
But wait a minute. It's not about I do it just because I do it. I'm asking you. You don't think he belongs up there as one of the outstanding players in the tournament?
Oh, he's definitely up there. I think you could have said 4 or 5 players from Cape Verde: Shane, Fidel, Kevin, and then I think it's Michael. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they had a lot of guys contributing, not just points, but rebounds, assists, steals. Hey, very well balanced team.
See, with me, I gotta give props to Shane. Yeah, I know you keep saying I keep talking a lot. You know, I keep mentioning Shane a lot, but I gotta give props to Shane. Why? It's because of the basketball IQ he possesses. It's not just about scoring. It wasn't about just, you know, how many points to put up there or how many assists and all that. It's just the way he was controlling the pace. He was controlling the game. He had his imprints like all over the game. When they were struggling at the beginning, it was him that controlled the game, slowed it down, and just picked them apart. This is South Sudan I'm talking about. And eventually they had that game. And in the first game, oh my God, he was just lethal from behind the three-point line, and then just controlling the pace of the whole game. So I give props to the people that just control the whole thing, because sometimes, you know, I know we do get a lot of people that score a lot of buckets, but it's easy to score buckets when somebody sets everything up for you. And I'm not taking
100%.
anything away. Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the other players, because I do feel like they did great. But I got to give props to Shane, and I think he was the MVP of that tournament, if you ask me.
If we're talking MVP, the person who had the most impact, I would actually agree with you that it was Shane. I think, like everything you've said, he showed great leadership. He's a quiet guy, but his actions speak louder than words. He just gets the job done. He executes on both ends of the floor. Great leader. Cape Verde are really lucky to have a guy like him.
I don't know about both ends of the floor. I don't know about his defense, or his defense is, it's okay.
Look, African defense, I'm not going to get too upset about, because it's like a foreign concept.
Oh, really?
Don't get me started.